again, one of my theories is that there is a part of feminism that is fascistic. There's that potentiality is there. And there's nothing about women that makes them less fascistic than men because of their sex. So I think we need to dispel that. We need to reckon with that. Yes, we are less strong and there's testosterone, but I think it's all ideology. This, women are the better sex, that we're more moral. I think it's all bullshit. There's a spectrum, and not just what we see Israelis do, like that Daniela Weiss and Barry Weiss and other women. These Ziofems, they're weaponizing rape. They're weaponizing feminist and women's obvious reaction to rape to excuse and provide cover to an obvious genocide that's killed more women and children than it has men, if that's what gets women off. If men's lives are less valuable, if men's lives don't matter, it's mainly women and children. Some feminists don't care as much about the boys either. But we may like to tell ourselves this lovely story about how women are better than men, who are less aggressive or less violent or just more caring. That's one of the reasons that you have gender quotas or sex quotas in India, is because they'll clean up politics, yeah? You bring some women in, the women behave better, the men behave better, it'll be less corrupt, it'll be all this fantastic stuff. Hasn't happened yet, but, whatever. And I just wanted to bring this up because one of the comparisons I want to work on for a paper and episode is comparing women's organizations in terms of how they conceive of rights, empowerment, employment, motherhood, all this stuff. Because again, what's a good women's movement? What's a bad women's movement? The Nazis had lots of interesting things to say about women. And there was a lot of enthusiastic Nazi women, and not just in the kind of bureaucratic or administrative or soft Nazi power, but also in the camps. So just to keep in mind, and look how they look at Goebbels. This is an actual picture. He was my chief. So this is a memoir from Christina Schroeder, who was Hitler's personal secretary for 12 years. The Nazi Organization of Women. There was the Women's Party, the Women's League of the Third Reich. And they had lots of ideas about women and women's role and the significance of woman-centered Nazism, actually, certain types of German women. And I use India as an example. You have the RSS. It's the organization that Modi and the BJP come out of, and it's a Hindu nationalist party. So, like India for Indians, and Indians are Hindu. Yeah. Which is a problem when you have 300 million Muslims and probably like 50 million Christians, perhaps. But Hindu nationalism. So there's a reason why a lot of Indians are pro-Israel. They also would like to have Hindu supremacy over India, and either make Muslims, they'd like to contain them in certain places. They would like to have them have limited rights. Christians as well. Huge women membership in that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the Naxalites, a Maoist organization, and they tend to be in the forest areas of India. They don't like how they're being kicked out all the time and being dispossessed, and how their land's being given over to corporations, both foreign and domestic. And so they're an armed resistance group against the state. And there's a lot of women in that. These are armed Naxalite women, arm to arm, shoulder to shoulder, rifle to rifle with their brothers, fighting the state. And I'm sure they'd probably call them terrorists. Here's a group, it was the Nazis Women Association or something. And there they are with their Aryan babies, and they're just enjoying that. Hitler's looking over them. So this new organization popped up, Feminist Against Anti-Semitism. And they have this banner, they have the Star of David with the women's symbol in it, and then a flower. Yeah. And for some reason I saw that, it reminded me of the National Socialist women. But we'll leave that for now. And then here's Hitler with Eva Braun. Apparently he liked being around kids. They spent a lot of time in the Bavarian forest, and they didn't have kids of their own, but there's all these pictures of them with like dogs and young kids just being, German folk. There they are with dogs. And here's Modi. The ladies love Modi. The Hindu nationalist ladies, would they have much of an issue if there's a terrorist attack? India had to crack down on its Muslims? Probably not. But here's another comparison of Walking with Comrades with Arundhati Roy. And here she's with the Maoists, also in India, but, you know, in the forest areas, and they're trying to protect their forests and mountains from being dispossessed. And you can see, here's the women, equality ladies, with the rifles. And I don't know how egalitarian it is with the cooking and the cleaning, but in terms of the soldiery, it's equal. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is, what is a woman? What is a good woman? Womanhood, woman being, women's rights. What does a woman want? Those women in the RSS, the Hindu nationalists, the Maoist women, is the religious right. You know, Eric Kirk, she's trying to bring back biblical womanhood or biblical free. But yet feminism wants to somehow be above all of that and be like, we can fill in that content about what a woman is, what a woman wants, her right, and that is inherently a fool's errand and tyrannical, if you really want to press it. And also to make the point that there's nothing about having a vagina that makes you inherently anti-fascist. I think that's clear. And an interesting thing is that there's all these pictures of women like looking adoringly at him of all ages. His biographers said that he was constantly having to, like, you know, he could have had a woman every hour of every day forever, whatever kind he wanted. The women loved Adolf. He had power. Anyway, look at that. Look at them. Look at him. The young ladies, the Führer. Okay, I'm sorry, Laura. I found this stuff today and I became intrigued. Here he is. I don't know if it's like a school for the good stock of German young women. They were, of course, quite keen on controlling who pairing up with who. But he's there and they're all lining up and he's signing their notebooks. So he's giving autographs. So another picture. A group of young girls parade in Coburg, giving Hitler's salute and singing the Horst Wessel, the unofficial anthem of the Nazi Party. Again, what should women want? Who gets to decide? And feminists do this. I'm not saying you in particular, but they have an idea of, you know, the good feminist, and then there's the women who are bad feminists who, I don't know, are patriarchal or whatever it is, whatever problematic views that they have. Zionism and feminism. Barry Weiss is a feminist. Hilary J. Keene's a femalist. And look at this. How happy are these ladies around Donald Trump? I mean, and this woman, and it's a lot of white ladies, but not only white ladies, was so happy and she wanted to flaunt that. She made a dress of Trump 2024 and, you know, and look at this. Are these bad women? Do they look unhappy?